Hello, class. I'm going to stop sharing my face and go right to our PowerPoint. So I'll come back and say goodbye at the end. All right, so now we're going to share the screen. And here we go. All right. Well, I want to welcome you to our third session of ECD 83. This week we will be working on skills for working with adults. Specifically, we will focus on skills needed in communication. The information included will be that of communication styles and how to have a better conversation, including creating third spaces. While supervising adults, you will have discussions on various topics. So let's talk about that for a moment. The topics may include performance, family engagement, health and safety, budgetary issues, professional development, performance evaluation, and team building. And these are just a few. For these discussions to be successful, you will need to understand your communication style so that you can tweak it to meet the needs of the people that you are speaking to. After all, the main goal when speaking to someone is to be understood. If the intended listener requires information delivered in a particular way, is it not beneficial to understand that and present the information so they can best hear it? Of course it is. So to that end, I have included a communication style audit in this session. The California Early Childhood Mentor Program has used this communication style audit at its Director Mentor Institutes for several years. And after facilitating several of these, I can tell you that this is a favorite activity at those events. Locate the communication style audit in Module 3. Download a copy of the audit and look at the words. They are arranged in 4 vertical columns. Read through the words and circle exactly 12 words, no more, no less. You want to pick and then circle words that you feel describe how you communicate, the words that best describe you, not what you want to be in the future, but what you are right now. After you have chosen your 12 words, add up each column from the top to the bottom and write that number just below each column. Now look at the words at the very bottom of the page. The words at the bottom of the page are the names of the communication styles. Below the largest number you wrote, or if you tied, the one that resonates with you is the name of your communication style. Either direct, spirited, considerate, or systematic. Now locate the other handout that goes along with the communication style audit. You will find it in Module 3 titled Strengths and Trouble Spots. This is a 2-page document. Page 2 is titled Interacting with Different Styles. To help you understand this even more, you will be watching a video. It stars 3 drama students from Chabot College, as well as a cameo by yours truly. The scenes depicted here represent the various communication styles. The ideas came from those Director Mentor Institutes I mentioned earlier. The only thing different is the song during the first skit. I couldn't use the real song in the film as it is copywritten, so I wrote this little song for this film. The real song was an old school 70s hit titled We Are Family by a group called Sister Sledge. Well, anyway, it should give you an idea of the activity the potential directors were asked to complete during the Director Mentor Institute. As you watch the video, see if you can relate to the skit that represents your style. This video, as well as a communication audit, will be explored in one of your discussion boards this week. To better our communication, we need to know a lot more about than just our style. We also need to know how to have a better conversation. Pictured here is a frame from a TED Talk video you are going to watch starring Celeste Headley. She's a radio personality on NPR as well as other things. I have placed it here in Module 3. There is an accompanying article on the same subject that you will also find in Module 3. Read the tips and think about your strengths and weaknesses when it comes to conversation. You will be writing a discussion board using the video and the handout. Okay, we are on to a new topic, but something that still works with and supports good conversation. And that is the ability or the skill to create what is called the third space. This comes from a book called Skilled Dialogue. This is not required reading for you in this class, but if you are serious about getting into a leadership role, I would suggest getting a copy of it and reading it, as I believe it could be very helpful. If you have two people who are working together and they have opposing views on a particular subject, it is helpful for both to use or to see usefulness or good in the other's point of view. This can change perspective enough that both parties may then find a neutral space and come up with a path forward that neither would have thought would have been possible if they had stayed empathetically in their own camp. This Navajo saying puts it beautifully. When we do not agree, perhaps it is because none of us see far enough. People living on opposite sides of the mountain rarely see the land the same way until they meet at the top. Third space is something built by two people who disagree or have opposing ideas on an issue or issues. Building a third space can bring them to a place where they can successfully work together. Your third discussion board this week uses this concept. You will read a scenario and try to come to the issue using the skills of third space creation. Now remember, third space is not a physical space. It doesn't mean that you go to a neutral location. Third space is a mental space. The example in your discussion board is about differences in child rearing. So try really hard to find something valuable in both people's point of view. That is third space. The following is a story taken from the Skill Dialogue book on how a group of teachers created third space at their school. A group of Head Start teachers were asked to select a situation to which they would like to apply the idea and skill of third space. They immediately chose their recent experiences with Martha, a mother whose 4-year-old son was exhibiting aggressive and hyperactive behavior. He was throwing chairs, hitting students, running around the room. The staff had created a behavior management plan or program that was somewhat successful on site, but Martha would not agree to use it at home. Her response was, "As long as he doesn't burn down the house, I'm okay with his behavior." They added that Martha was an older single mother who worked 2 jobs, one of which was during the night shift at a juvenile detention facility. The first step was for the teachers to ask themselves a lot of questions, trying to focus on identifying possible positive intent underlying in Martha's behavior. After extended discussion, they decided that could they could accept Martha's perspective as valid, although undesirable. If Martha perceived her choices as ignore her son's behavior or end up hitting him out of frustration or exhaustion, as she once said that she felt. For the first time, they felt that they could respect this mother's decision. In her own way, she was trying to do what was right by not hitting him. Even though the teachers disagreed with Martha's perceived choices, they could now respect her need to avoid the physical violence. She didn't have the skill or ability to work with him in the way that they did at school. But how could you create third space? Before we go on to this, we're going to talk about Martha's choices some more. But the two existing spaces, the space where Martha was inattentive to her son, and the space in which the staff felt compelled to force compliance, had significant drawbacks. The ensuing discussion was prolonged. Although the staff could respect Martha's choice, their negative judgment of his behavior seemed to preclude the possibility of creating inclusive third space options. Then, one of the teachers asked the question, how could you compliment this mom in her situation? No one had an immediate answer. Finally, one staff member said, we could compliment her on how well she has encouraged her son to become self-reliant. The change in staff energy after this statement was amazing. A third space perspective began to develop in which Martha's behavior, now reframed as supporting self-reliance, could be integrated with the staff's desired behavior, which was nurturing relational and social skills. The staff could approach Martha as an equal partner who provided one part of the whole. The staff reformulated their interactions as adding to that part, the teaching self-reliance part, rather than trying to erase it. As a result, they reported that they no longer felt they needed to approach Martha from a "we need to fix this" approach, and instead could approach her from a sincere "how can we work together" position. The final outcome remained uncertain, but the staff's shift in perspective promised a more positive outcome than their initial position of implement our behavior management program at home, or we will no longer be able to serve your child. Third space thinking can't fix everything, and it needs some time to work, but it is a much more productive and supportive way of approaching others and is worth trying. The reading for this week is Chapter 7. By now, you have been working with your pair share buddy for a few weeks, hopefully. Unless I hear differently from you, I will assume the pairing is working for you. If there are difficulties that arise, please contact me. Make sure to edit your work, as I have found simple spelling issues and sentence structure mistakes in the first group of papers. If you don't feel that your writing skills are that great, seek out someone you believe does a better job than you and ask them to read your part of the pair share paper before you assemble it with your partner, and then before you turn it in to me. This is not an English class, but it is a college level class, and more than that, it is a professional level class within our field. Remember, the college has a writing center to aid you if you need, and nowadays they have online support, so look into them. So to review, the reading this week was in Chapter 7. Your next pair summary paper is due at the end of next week and will include both this week's chapter and next week's chapter. There will be 3 discussion boards, one on communication style, one on creating better conversations, and one on holding third space conversations. 2 of your discussion boards are connected to the videos for this week's class, which are Communication Styles and 10 Steps to Better Conversation. Both are embedded in your discussion board of the same name. I also want you to look ahead to your upcoming assignments. You will be doing a teacher evaluation on an imaginary teacher. That is one of them. And you will be filling out 2 pages of an assessment form called Eckers. That's 2. For those, you that know what Eckers is will realize that we won't be filling out a full Eckers, but only 2 items within an Eckers book. Your Eckers will be based off of a film that you will need to view, so I will not be accepting Eckers that you have already filled out in the past. And again, for those of you who may not be familiar with what an Eckers is, that will be described for you during a later class. The course outline module, the course outline within Module 1 shows all assignment due dates. I don't want you to work too far ahead, so I don't like to pass the information or the assignments out until you need them. As I said, I just want you to be aware of what's coming. So this is the end of Lecture 3, and if you have any questions, please post them in the inbox. Write me a note through inbox. I will reply within 2 days. I wish you all the best, and I'm going to go back now and open this back up. All right. Again, some of you have been hesitant to phone me at home, either during the week in the evenings or on the weekend. I don't want you to be. I am here to support you. Feel free to call me. If I don't pick up, leave a message and I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. Now, I am not fault-free. If I, for some reason, forget to get back to you within a 2-day period, please call me again, because I don't want that communication get lost. I do check inbox in Canvas as well pretty often, so you can also write to me there. So that's it for me. Again, I hope you have a great week. The best to you and your families. And for this week, I will say goodbye.